Last night, Peter Egan and I discussed the appalling spectacle of what they call the Grindadráp hunt, which is an alleged centuries-old tradition on the Faroe Islands, where the locals drive dolphins and pilot whales into shallow water for the sole purpose of hacking them to death. It went badly wrong this year. A few days back, the sea turned red when nearly 1,500 white-sided dolphins, an entire pod, were driven onto the beach and speared and hacked to death. It was a massacre. Now, Peter and I got quite upset about this. I'm going to introduce now two other people who I know are equally distraught. Dragon's Den star Deborah Meaden and our friend animal activist Dominic Dyer. Hello, Deborah. Hello, Dominic.
Hello there.
Hi, Kevin.
Can we first have a little listen to Peter, I think, explaining, why this was particularly terrible?
The most extraordinary creatures that have the most fine communication systems in the ocean. They're fun-loving creatures. They're social creatures. I mean, people pay to go and see them in bays, diving and swimming and, bouncing off the water. And here you have these lunatics just taking great pleasure killing them. It is absolutely shocking. It's devastating.
Well, I think he sums up all of our feelings. Deborah, what I was hoping to steer this feature towards was us calling on the Danish government, because they are the government that oversees the Faroe Islands, to end this tradition. It's just wrong.
Well, yes, but I think the local government, as in the Faroese government, because it is a kingdom within Denmark. So I think that probably we need to fight the battle where it is going to be most effective. And I think that is on the ground in the Faroe Islands. And, that can take many forms, but with salmon being 50% of their exports, I can't help thinking that we should probably help them make a decision in the right direction by buying our food very carefully.
I see what you mean. I mean, the thing is, they call it, they say, well, you see, it dates back centuries. But the way they drive these lovely creatures into the shallow water now is using jet skis and boats and speedboats. So it hardly reeks of old Viking tradition, does it? Dominic, our friends at Dadra, even they have spoken out against this and said that they are calling for an encouragement to stop these hunts. Even Dadra, who as we often have reflected upon, seem to rather enjoy the destruction of animals. Even they don't like this. I mean, it's got to stop, hasn't it? We've got to stop it somehow.
We have to, something from my work at Born Free that I've covered this for a very long time. And this is the oldest whale hunt in the world. The records go back hundreds of years, but there's no justification for it now. You could go back to the 1930s and 40s and prior to that. And, there wasn't much to eat on the islands beyond sheep meat, puffin meat and whale meat. So this was an important part of their diet. Today, though, the Faroes is one of the wealthiest island nations in the world with the highest, income levels. They can have all the variety of foods that we take for granted in their supermarkets. Very few people eat this stuff. There are health warnings from their chief medical officer about mercury, cadmium, PCB levels in dolphin and whale meat for young people, pregnant mothers particularly. And what happens in situations like this is this has become a bloodlust. It's actually become a sort of a means by which they're trying to hold on to the past, but actually they're destroying their future. Now, an interesting angle on this is actually the level of domestic violence on the islands has risen rapidly in recent years. And a lot of the women are leaving to go and live in Denmark or other parts of Europe. So they're actually importing brides from the Philippines and Thailand, which are the biggest sort of ethnic groups coming in, because the men need to find wives. There are real concerns about children being involved in these hunts as well, because they bring the children down. You have to be 18 or above to kill the animals, but you can actually watch as a child, and lots of children are literally sort of blooded in the water or stand on the carcasses. The sort of mental health issues here, as well as the physical health issues of consuming this, are very, very serious. So I think that, this is a tragedy in so many different ways. But ultimately, the British government do have some leverage here, because in 2019, we agreed a free trade agreement with the Faroe Islands. which actually allows for nearly 200 million pounds of exports a year of wild fish, shellfish, and as Deborah has said, on farm salmon. They actually export far more than we give to them. I think we sell about 20 million pounds, 30 million pounds the other way. Now, the British government should consider suspending that free trade agreement, because if we did, that's over 25% of their global trade. I think if we went that far, we'd soon focus minds both in the Faroe Islands, but also in Denmark, that gives them a lot of aid as well. So I really do support what Deborah is saying. This is a trade issue where we could bring this barbarity to an end.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan, Deborah. On a sort of general basis, I mean, this strikes me as just a symbol of just how barbaric we, the human race, can sometimes be towards animals. I mean, you know, what is the psyche of people who feel this kind of slaughter, this senseless slaughter? We're just looking at pictures on Talk TV of the sea, you know, turned crimson red with the blood of these defenseless creatures being hacked to death. I mean, what the hell goes on in the minds of anyone who thinks this is an enjoyable pastime?
I mean, I find it inconceivable, but clearly it's not inconceivable because it's happening. But sometimes I think if you try to translate what is happening over there, to try and show the horrors of this, dolphins are incredibly intelligent creatures. Can you imagine in this country a farmer chasing 1,500 cows, herding them into a corner, jumping into that herd, randomly slitting their throats in front of their family? This is whether they're old, whether they're young, whether they're pregnant, whether they're, you know, they're juveniles, whatever they are, and allowing that blood just to flow around those live creatures who would watch on. And with dolphins, because of their high level intelligence, they actually can understand the fear, and this is going to happen to them. Can you imagine what this country would do or say? Because that is what happened.
And to be fair, a lot of the Faroe Islanders this time said this is going too far. So we may be getting somewhere when at least the locals begin to be repelled by this revolting spectacle. But it was an entire pod of dolphins, and they're saying actually it went a bit wrong because they're supposed to...
It was a super pod.
Yeah.
It was a super pod. It wasn't just a pod. It was 1,420.
Yeah.
I mean, these are magnificent. If you've ever seen a super pod,
yeah,
what on earth would make you want to jump there and kill one? You know, is unbelievable. It was.
I think it's that sort of bloodlust,
you know
as I said.
Yeah. Did you think
once
that,
it
Dominic,
starts, it never finishes?
Do you think, Dominic, that those people, that they get that the more it goes on, that they are consumed by a kind of manic bloodlust, and it gets worse and worse and worse?
I remember seeing a film when I was young. Disney made a lot of films. You might remember, going back, Deborah, when we were both young, that they made a lot of films around the world, the documentaries, and they made one about the Faroes in 1974. I think Telly Savalas or someone narrated it. And I remember watching the scenes where they were killing the pilot whales, and they were using rowing boats then, and they were in their big knitted jumpers, and they were just using spears, and it was horrendous. And I remember the narrator said it was like the sort of Viking blood rising up of the past and sort of, you know, taking hold of the modern generation. And those sort of words stuck with me. But it strikes me why we still 50 years later seeing this continue. Why has the international community not done anything? Denmark, for example, has actually provided military aid. That means they put destroyers and military helicopters down and actually arrested Sea Shepherd activists and taken them away, and actually rounded up their boats using their military power at huge expense to protect what they say is the right of the islanders to kill whales. And they said that Sea Shepherd potentially are endangering the lives of the people who are killing the whales. That's absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, Denmark is seen as a world environmental leader in many parts of you know, in terms of environmental policy. But in this, it fails miserably. So I think we do need to put pressure on the Danes. We do need to put pressure economically on the Faroes. At the end of the day, most people on those islands are not going to give up 25% of their foreign trade to allow this barbarism to continue. But the British government have to make a decision. It's no good saying that they want to protect whales and dolphins around the world, negotiate the trade deal as Liz Truss did before she goes off to the Foreign Office now, and then forget about the consequences. You know, 20, 30 million quid's worth of trade on hold for a few months could stop this. could stop this. And I think that's what we need to do. Got a petition going that hopefully will be approved this week for a government petition. I want to get, lots of people behind it, get MPs and ministers behind it. So I think we do have something we can go after here. I know people are very, very angry indeed.
Where can we get hold of that?
I think,
go on.
Sorry, I think the good news in all of this, if something good can come out of something so awful, is I think they have gone too far.
I think you're right.
And I think it might have taken this, I'm sorry. I mean, it's an awful thing to cost the lives of those dolphins. But if that's what it takes to stop this, that's my hope. I think they've gone too far.
I think you made a good point there. That's exactly what's happened. They've crossed the line, and it may be the barbaric atrocity we needed to get rid of this. Just before you go, Dominic, how can people get hold of your petition?
Well, once the petition is approved by the committee, it has to take a few days, and I hope it will be. Then it will go live, and then we'll make sure everyone can see it and share it. And I hope that we can build that up really quickly indeed to get a debate in the House of Commons. And I know Zach Goldsmith has been out today as the minister's, saying how disgusting this is. There is a lot of support, I think, across political parties to do something. So let's hope we can achieve it. I think you're right, Deborah. This could be the turning point.
Yeah.
Let's hope it is.
Well, fingers crossed it is. Listen, Dominic, let us know here at